Dang. There we go. That should be better. Man, I hate it when that happens. Can anyone else hear it? No, I can hear myself. I'm just talking for me. I don't care about you guys. I want to hear myself talk. Um, Dang. How are you guys doing? Let's start over. And here I was thinking I was so funny. I was like, I had my character like in the pose and everything, and I had because like I had gone through just before the stream, and I had taken a screenshot, and I'd updated my little image in the corner, so it was still in the same position and everything. I was like, oh look, it's in the same position, and it's like this, like whatever. Nobody cares. But we're good now. All right. So to be able to start over, how to get a sculpt menu while sculpting. I'm not sure what that means. You might have to clarify your question there. Knee big stay. Not sure what your question's supposed to be. Yeah, so to go over what I said in the beginning, you can tell that the feet look a little bit doughy. Okay, I haven't gone through and added in anatomy and refinements to the feet yet, feet and the ankles. So I want to be able to go through, possibly a little bit up the shin too. I need to go through and refine the feet and the ankles so that, she's good and ready to go. The toes are pretty much there. The toes are fine. They work. I might do some shape refinement on this to be able to get some definition to the knuckles, to get some definition for like the bony marks in her feet. And that's kind of the idea of it, is that like by defining the bony landmarks, that's what I'm trying to inflate mask and stuff. I mean, so to be able to get your inflate mask, I mean, you can go through, hold control, and then come over here. You have your different stuff over here. I don't have the inflate mask because I'm in 2022. But I do have like mesh splat. I have mesh project, mesh balloon. I'm not sure. So I care because I care about the toes. Yes, they are going to be covered by the shoes. But the reason I want to care about the toes is that I want this to be a base mesh for later. So if I do any kind of open-toed shoes, we're going to see the toes. We're going to see the feet. So by going through and doing the painstaking work now of cleaning it up, making sure that the whole model is completely finished, it makes it so that whatever uses I have for it later, just make it a nice streamlined process. So let's see, we've got some work ahead of us to make this work. Let's see. So yeah, and then the other thing that I wanted to do is add some fingernails. I want her to be kind of not necessarily cat-like, but kind of cat-like. I want her to have some nice nails. I'm not entirely sure if I want to do like a long sharp. In fact, let me draw this out so that I've got something to show you guys. Oops, that is a terrible line. Yeah, something like this. So like she's got like Black Panther claws, or if I want to have something like a flat tip with like a French dip or something, So I'm not entirely sure how I want to do this, because I do kind of like the idea of like maybe a rounded. We could do like an almond with like a slight sharp to it, so that it's not not totally like I'm going to totally disembowel you with my claws. Let's see. I'll go ahead and I'll save that, because that could be worth holding on to later. The application that I'm using is called Light Shot. Hello, Taiwan. So yeah, light shot. It's really, really great. I use it all the time. I use it professionally. I use it for myself because I like that it allows me to go ahead and take a screenshot really quickly, save it to where I want to. Um, it allows me to readjust kind of like what area I want to have screenshot. Like, say for instance, I want to do my screenshot and I can select this area. It's like, oh, I left a little bit of that pinky not selected, so I'm going to like slide that over a little bit, kind of readjust however I want to. Maybe I don't need that much on the over the thumb, that sort of thing. So really simple, really easy to use. And yeah, like you're saying, we got like the drawing tool. We have arrows, so you can like click and draw, and we can be like, oh yes, I want the fingernail, Super nice. You have rectangles, and you can obviously change colors too. So you've got like, all this stuff here. Okay. It's like, okay, I want to highlight this area so much, and especially this little detail right there, So lots of really neat functionality to it. Add text. You have an undo command. So really cool. I really enjoy Lightshot. It's free, so definitely a good price. Yeah, let's see. Let's start off with some fingernail action here. Let's go ahead and let's close that. We don't need that. And let's say we have some extra stuff in here. Let's see. Okay, so we've got that hair in there. I'm going to take this hair. Let's take this hair and we'll say delete it. I just want to try to get rid of some of these. Let's get rid of the spare heads. Let's get rid of the spare arms. This is to be able to check the length of the arm, but that was like back before I like shortened her legs, so you can see like the shoulders a little bit higher. But yeah, so just delete that. I kind of want to delete her robe because I feel like it's not quite what I feel like I want. But we'll have to see. We'll get somewhere. These are like some old shoes from a different model. And you can see like it's. And I actually brought this in so that I could use the shape of the sole to be able to create the hole of the other shoe. So we'll go ahead. We'll delete this. The chair we need to keep. This is something that we can go through and actually just initialize. We'll hit initialize on this so that it's just a cube. Yeah, because this is just a place marker to be able to keep our file name clean. Hey sis, how you doing? Let me see. Shane Olson was having trouble just using snip and clip and was searching for other tools. Is snip and clip another one of those screenshot sort of programs? I haven't heard of that one before. Lightshot is the best one though that I've ever used. It's really nice. Shoshaka, that's a cool name. Can you share if it's much harder to get a job if you're only interested in high poly modeling? So it'll depend on what kind of job you're looking at, and it'll also depend on how good you are at it. Because say for instance, getting high poly modeling for collectibles, like that's all there is. Like you don't do low poly modeling for collectibles. Toys, same thing. So everything's really but everything's really competitive. So a lot of companies will already have their team, their top picks, their top freelancers, that sort of thing. Character and creature is insanely competitive. So it's one of those things where it's like if your portfolio is such that that you show that you not only fit in with the artists that companies already use, but that you're better. That's kind of Yeah, it's one of those things that like people don't like to hear that, it's competitive, and that, you have to be better, and there's too much of a culture around like, just be better than you were yesterday. And it's like, yes, you need to look for self-improvement, but the real idea, if this is what you want to do to support yourself, you have to keep in mind this is a competitive industry, or set of industries rather. Um, and so, you do have to be going through and comparing yourself to other people, and see if your portfolio stacks up, and if it doesn't, then you got to be able to ask yourself questions of like, what do I need to do to fix it? What do I need to do to get myself to a point where, my stuff looks like their stuff, or where my stuff is even better? Like, what is it that I can learn from them, and get to a point where I'm better than, so that I can get the jobs that I want. Um, yeah, it's it's a tough conversation, and nobody likes having that conversation, because everybody wants the positivity and the encouragement, and I get it. I get it. Encouragement is super important, but it's also important to recognize the reality of it. It's a hard industry to get into. Okay, so now we got that. Um, I'll get to the ankles later. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and use the body mesh to create the fingernails. Family says hi as well. Hi, Davrin. Hi. Let me see. Ship and clip is the default Windows tool. Oh, okay, so you're talking about the snipping tool. Yeah, I mean, it's not coming up on the other screen, but yeah, the snipping tool is kind of, this is what you're talking about, right? Where it's like you get that, and then you can go through and you can still draw on it. Wow, that was not. That was like, there was a lot of lag there. That's really funny. No, don't save that. Um, yeah, that's the one that I'm aware of. You really hate retopology and baking. So when you're getting into industries, like especially entertainment industries, when you get into collectibles or toys or anything like that, it's not a big deal. You know, lighter topology is something you can just get away with ZRemesher. Um, but um, one of the things that you're going to want to consider is that when you're trying to get into these sorts of roles of like character modeler, or um, um, yeah, character modeler, or what's the or creature modeler. Um, you're going to definitely want to make sure that you can do something from the pipeline surrounding what it is that you want to be doing. So for high poly modeling, you're going to need to know retopology and UVs and all that stuff. You're going to want to know what comes up, um, after, even, what comes up with like rigging, what comes up with texturing, and here, let's do that so that it matches the thumb, I guess. I'm just going to get rid of all that. Because in the end, I mean, most people are only going to get hired if they do understand and can support themselves in production environment. That being said, there are jobs where it is just sculpting. My job when I first started at Netflix, it was just artistic sculpting, and that, you know, that changed. You know, that changed over time to be more production oriented. Get that down to something like that. Delete hidden. Cool. Hey Jace, how you doing, brother? That being said, there are places where they do utilize, especially nowadays, like visual development has been utilizing a lot more of these, a lot more sculptors as, what's it called, as yeah, viz dev modelers, like just purely what's the word for it, like just artistic sculptors. And those jobs are like few and far between. It's not a matter of, like, you know, they're not easy to find jobs. They're not, I'll have to rearrange those nails so that they sit on the nail a little bit better. They're not common, okay, and they're not easy to get to. A lot of studios, hey Prashant, how you doing, dude? A lot of studios need you to be able to wear multiple hats, you know, so being able to pigeonhole yourself into strictly just the artistic stuff, it's not very typical. There are outliers, there are outstanders, you know, like Caleb Rice is a good example. My understanding is that his job at Pixar is strictly a viz dev modeler. So what he does, you know, granted he'll use some real topology, but he does a lot of like just artistic sculpting just to be able to get the concept across in 3D. If you guys watched the ZBrush Summit this last time around, Caleb's great. Caleb is awesome. Love him to death. He's a buddy of mine at when I was at DreamWorks. He came on kind of close to the end of my run on How to Train Your Dragon. Really nice guy. You know what? There are studios that are utilizing that type of skill though. So if it is something that you're interested in getting into, what I would do is I would get really good. One, yeah, the sculpting. The sculpting is important. The sculpting is great, but also getting good at the production side of things, because that in the end is what's going to get you more stability and more, I'll say more longevity with the, let's try local symmetry. Yeah, I'll worry about shaping them, I guess, in a minute. This is useful though. I like that shape so far. I like the length too, so we'll have to, you know what? Let's do all three of these at the same time. See if we can get something that works for us. Okay, lengthwise. Um, hey, Leonard. For toy design, it's important to do the pipeline as well. Yes, but not necessarily like the topology type pipeline. For toys, it's going to be a different type of pipeline, right? Um, for toys, there's going to be a different demand for because the pipeline is different, right? I mean, you're not going to have um, you're not going to have to worry about production ready topology. You're not going to have to worry about UVs unless you need the UVs and cleaner topology to be able to do things like cloth details. That's usually something that's a lot easier to add if you have a mesh that's lower resolution with subdivisions and you have UVs because you can apply it more cleanly without getting without getting what's it called, like seams, like nasty seams. So yeah, it's a balance, right? You gotta think about things in the way that you know you want to make sure that you are as useful as possible. Um, because that's companies are looking to fill in a gap, and while sculpting, like the high res sculpting stuff, super important, but not as important as having something that's useful. And while high resolution sculpting is insanely useful, it's also it's just sculpting. So it's like, what else can you give? Um, for toys, it's going to be a matter of how do you engineer it, um, how do you cut and key, how do you hollow things out, how do you add in how do you create tooling, how do you there are all these different parts of the process. How do you do your ball and socket joints, how do you do your different hinge types, things like that. How do you prep things for injection molding, how do you prep things for CNC milling. It's like there's so many different things kind of going into that where it's like, I mean, I've got a super plug and play type printer here where I don't have to worry about too much. My slicer it's simple. It's Formlabs. It's literally plug and play, and it works pretty nicely right out of the gate. Um, there are occasional issues, right? But it's really simple to deal with. Give me a second. Um, but like, for instance, when I was working at Disney, there were other tools we had to be able to use. I didn't get a chance to learn these tools, but different tools to be able to make sure that our that our meshes were watertight, that they were solid, that they were ready to go for CNC milling, for um, different types of 3D printers that don't necessarily have the kind of slicer that I would have for my Formlabs printer. Um, so it's interesting. It's different. There are all these different things that you gotta kind of consider when you're. Um, there we go. There's my fingernail shape. Um, when you're trying to consider jobs and careers and things like that, being able to do things on your own, being self-directed, is super important. But also being able to take direction, being able to take feedback, um, and having a track record for it. Like I've got, I'm currently lead character modeler at Marvel Animation Studios, um, and to be able to get to that sort of a point, I have to be really good with topology and UVs. I have to be really good at that'll work pretty nicely. I mean, I still gotta do some shaping so that it doesn't like feel like it's missing out on the sides here, but it's working out pretty nicely. I have to understand how my UVs need to work in order to service the next part of the pipeline. Things such as shading and texturing. Things such as even XGen, different hair programs. Those will often use clean UVs or UV maps to be able to generate other maps that they need to be able to control the hair. Really, really important stuff. And like if I've had to clean up several models from other artists who they didn't get things quite clean. Things weren't ready for production. The UVs weren't ready. Things like that, and it put a lot of strain on me to be able to make sure that things were ready. And as a lead, I mean, I had a lot of stuff that I had to do to make sure that things were done and ready for production for myself, for my own things, right? Being easy to work with is also huge, right? So being easygoing and not being a jerk, like you burn bridges really easily in this industry if you're hard to work with. Nobody wants to work with somebody who's mean-spirited, who's down, who doesn't take feedback. I gotta figure out like a good color for her. I want to redo her eye makeup too. It feels a little bit overdone. And there's something about like her eyes, like her eye and her brow. I feel like it's coming far, like too far forward. Maybe it's just the brow. I'm gonna try adjusting that here in a minute. But let's see. Let's grab that color. Maybe make it just slightly different. MRGB, color, fill object. So that way she's got like, fingernails. I'll have to decide if I really like that, but yeah. How do you know you're hard to work with? Yeah, I mean, you can ask people. I think that there's a level of charm in being able to reach out and ask people. Slalom. Do you ski? It's like when I think of slalom, I think of skiing, like the skiing event with all the flags going down the hill, and you gotta go between them. That was one of my favorite events in the Olympics when I was a kid. But yeah, how important are standards like texel density and poly density? They're really important in a production environment. Okay, so being able to get your poly density to a level that it won't be a burden in the production. That's important. But then there's also a matter of having what you need to be able to get your shapes across and all that. Yeah, it's important to make sure that you can get your shape. It's like our yeah. I think one of the things that I feel like has been helpful to me in the past is chatting with my supervisor. Being like, hey, I just wanted to know how things were going. What you feel, how you feel about my performance, how you feel things could be better, that sort of thing. And more often than not, people will be like, oh, thank you so much for asking. You're doing great. You're doing great in these areas, or you're suffering in these areas. We'd like you to be able to pick up pace, or we'd like you to, figure out how to do this part, this sort of stuff, and you can ask about those sorts of things. Like what are our pain points? Like what What is really, really difficult for our team? A lot of those things are probably going to stand out to you. But there are also some subtle things that might not, you know? So I think that, asking those sorts of questions can be helpful. Be ready for answers. um, we all have things that we need to learn. We all have things we need to improve in. And so, being ready to accept what is said, sometimes with a grain of salt, but, being ready to accept what is said is important. Yeah, there's a lot. Um, Let me see. Freelance modeler and texture artist. Even I have to work with the pipeline from the client end as well. Just because you're freelancer doesn't mean you get to do what you want. Yeah, for sure. Totally, 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 totally. Um, no cap. um, from a random word generator. That's funny. Being self-aware, it's not easy for sure. Understanding what you do affects people downstream. Yeah, and it can also affect people upstream. Um, a lot of it's going to be just communication. Understanding that, if you have needs, make sure that you voice them. And also, like, you know, I think being considerate and being, yeah, I guess being considerate, like Leonard was saying, being considerate of people downwind, um, being able to, consider how your work affects others. I think that's super. That's a superpower. Like that's super super important, and people will recognize when you're doing your part to lift their burdens. Trying to make things better and easier for everybody else, right? Um, it's like, for me at Marvel, one of the things people have told me that they really super appreciate is just how easy it is to UV unwrap things. I've had models that they asked me purely to model it, and that we've passed the model off to one of our other artists, Missy Emily. Um, and one of the things that she said she super appreciated was that the topology was predictable. Like it was, she knew that if she was to double click on an edge to be able to create a seam for the UVs, she knew that it was going to end up exactly where she clicked. It wasn't going to create a spiral. It wasn't going to create problems and difficulty and all that. It was going to make for light work. So, that is something that I pride myself on. It's something that I feel like I do really well, is getting good topology. I feel like I do well with my UVs. I feel like I'm fast with my UVs. So I don't like that shape. I feel like that's maybe a little wide. In fact, maybe what I gotta do. I think this shape is maybe a little bit too round on the back. Let's try kind of flattening this up some, and then I'll have to change the characters, like the fingernail mesh, like the bed mesh, just a little bit so that it matches. Yeah, I feel like that's going back too far. And then same for rigging. Where rigging, they like it when you have nice symmetry in your mesh, and they like it when you where things are predictable, right? They like to know that the UVs are in order. They like to know that the topology and the edge loops are clean. That that's better. don't quite like this this color. I think let's try the color of the bra actually. That'll work for now. I just felt like it was like standing out too much, right? Anyway. Gone skiing a couple times. I used to go skiing all the time. It was crazy. Let me see. Eyes and eyebrows seem too high up and far out horizontally. Yeah, they're like out to the side is kind of where I want it. Like proportionately, like if I look at it from the front, I like how this looks. If I look at it from the side, let me actually take this. Take this hair. I'll turn it off for a minute. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of back and forth that I can do. Let me go through. Let's fix the eyes, because I feel like this is something that is it's bothering me. and this is like another one of those things where it's like, you know, being able to go back and you know, try to figure things out. It's not easy. But not being married to the first thing that you tried to do. Let's turn off local symmetry so we don't ruin our center edge there. Let's go ahead and grab these. Might be too much. I feel like the cheek might need to come up a little bit more here in this section. So let's try this. We're gonna play with this a little bit. Yeah. That's helpful. I think that's aligning the anatomy a little bit better for what I'm needing. Like, this is starting to work. Hey, you swoon. Pain is your friend. Pain is not my friend, Prashan. I have a dud shoulder that would say otherwise. You know, being willing to step out of your comfort zone, absolutely. Absolutely. I do feel like, okay, I'm going to try something with the chin here. I'm going to try splitting this edge. Let's try doing this. Let's take this edge and we'll kind of move it out a little bit. Pinocchio! And then I want to add just a little bit of a, I'll say a bevel, because visually that's kind of what it's creating. I want to try to get rid of this flesh underneath the chin just to kind of clean that up some. Let's get this. We'll take this and kind of reshape it some. It's like I want her jaw to have like a strong statement, but not so strong that it's distracting from the rest of the face. And in fact, these eyes, I need to make sure that they're going the other direction. So let's do this real quick. Let's say, I'm going to say Control-Shift-D so that we have eyes that we can use as like eyeglass when we start to render. And then for these, I want to grab, here, let's go ahead and turn that off. I am going to say, let's solo this out so we can see what we're doing. Okay, make sure that this is, make sure this is centered in the eye bit there. What I want to do is I want to use my move tool. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm just going to kind of push this back into the eye. Got to kind of make sure that I'm careful of where it's positioned. Oops. Okay, do something like that. Oh, it's like slightly skewed. The thing that this will help, creating that dish, it'll help so that the eyes feel a little bit more natural instead of feeling so. Yeah, let's grab this and control click and drag so that that creates a little bit more of a hole. That'll help create a little bit more of an eye look instead of making it feel like, because like with this eye turned on, you can see how that feels super unnatural. But this helps the character to feel a little bit more natural. Just one of those little things to bring us closer to Mama's cooking, Okay. It's a little bit better. I'll have to go through and make like a final eye at some point, but yeah. I was commenting on the hard work part. Yeah, I get you, bud. I get you. Thanks, man. It's so much fun. Just having fun with it. I mean, it's one of those projects that I feel like I've definitely kind of noodled on, and I have a lot left to noodle, like the feet, like we were talking about earlier. So let's go ahead and let's start kind of strengthening some anatomy here. I'm going to grab my reference model. For anybody who has not heard of them, this is the anatomy model from 3D Total. They are amazing reference. I love, it's got like this écorché half, and then it's just got, standard anatomy half. But really, really nice model, great detail, and great forms for like, being able to study those different parts of the anatomy. Really, really neat. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to kind of study those ankles for a second, because that's going to, like, ankles and feet. I wish I could, like, here we go. Kind of set it so that it's up. I can't really set it so it's upside down over my tablet, because, it's my tablet. I'm going to set it up next to my screen. Let's do that. Because why not? It's America. I just got to make sure that I'm... Let's go ahead and I'm going to grab this edge loop in here, and let's kind of like pull it in some here so that it creates a little bit more definition to that tendon. Maybe we'll do, yeah, we'll do some here on this other side as well. Oops, 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 oops. Hey, Gargis. How'd it go? That is nice. I'm glad you didn't have to wait around. I'll tell her you said hello. It's something that kind of makes her chuckle when they're like, when people are like, "Hi, Mrs. Smartest." Nini's like, ah, ha, ha. Well, not ha ha ha, but you know, she thinks it's fun. She thinks it's charming. Let's see. It's like I've got this odd twist in the foot. In fact, let's use the clay brush. So yeah, it's like I'm trying to get this this form in here, even though the topology isn't quite what I would want. I might need to go through and kind of rework this at some point. Maybe not, but maybe. It's like you can see how it's like this toe. If we look at the way that it kind of like goes and it kind of like arcs over to the side. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. You know what? Maybe it's a matter of, let's kind of just take this and shift everything over a little bit. I'm going to kind of use this, pull this up a little bit. Now, one of the things that you'll hear a lot is trying to get like even quads across your whole mesh when you're creating something for production. And it's like, yeah, you want to try to keep things as even as possible, but you also got to understand that the topology is going to create the shape. So you're going to have points like this where it's like I have this intentionally closer together right here so that it helps to create a little bit of a pinch, so that it creates something of a plane change. Because then it's going to, you know, this stuff is a little bit less together, so it's going to create a little bit less of a. Let's go ahead and do this again. It's going to create a flatter surface, right? Let's see if we can get some more kind of anatomy in here. Just kind of push some points around a little bit to get a little bit of a, I guess, meat to the heel. Because there's not nearly enough meat and anatomy to that heel. Let's get the tendon kind of coming in a little bit further maybe, and then let's see about working this ankle some. So let me see, I'm trying to look. It looks like the inside ankle is higher than the outside ankle, and we're trying to get that kind of tilt there. So I'm going to kind of pull this out some, and like already this is starting to look so much better, like so much more more interesting, more believable. This shape right here is going to be a little bit different. Like we're going to need to get like a little bit more of like a point and then like a straight up sort of thing. So I'm going to try pulling this up a little bit, this in a little bit. Let's try pulling this heel up some so that it creates a little bit more of that round shape here. And then what I want to do, let's grab this loop right. Oh. This right here. Just going to kind of pull it in by itself and then soften the mask and pull it in. And get a little bit nicer of a curve here in the bottom. Feels a little bit too broken. Let me see. Let's look up some. Let's look up a little bit of reference here. Woman foot in high heels. this is a pretty good one, but it's like, I don't know, it's sideways. Let's see. Let's check this out. Oh, wow. That looks painful. That's a pretty good one. I mean, it's got, you can definitely see, like, it's got this. Okay. Okay. So let's get rid of that little bit there. Let's see if we can get some more views. Like this is nice. Let's see. Good grief. Yeah, definitely no wrinkles. No wrinkles. We're not doing wrinkles right now. That's not something that we'll model in. Wrinkles are something that we'll save for much later. Yeah, there's a lot that we've got to kind of add into it, and I think that, you know, wrinkles are one of those things that it's way too early to add to our model. So we're still at a point where we're trying to add forms, and if we add wrinkles too early, then it creates a mess. Like it just gets muddy. Here, let's look at the shape of the foot from the side. Like we can see like the shape that it's creating, a little bit of like that bony landmark right there from the top of the metatarsals. So I'm going to try to kind of replicate that here. Let's put it right here, but I'm going to soften it and kind of raise it up some. So we're creating a little bit of a peak here, and then it's kind of fading down. Kind of give it something like this. Kind of boost the toe just a little bit. Something kind of like that. And try to add like a little bit of a dimple right here. And like the shape of the foot here just feels like it's like something feels a little bit off. So I'm trying to figure out kind of the balance of what it is that we need to, how we need to go about creating this this sense of anatomy that also feels like you see. Yeah, it feels not quite right. So let's try. Let's try kind of pushing this back some maybe. Let's see kind of how it's looking in context. It's like I feel like it is getting chunky. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's kind of fill in that heel. Let's move the heel around too, so that it's kind of meeting the foot part way. Something like that. This piece needs to be adjusted so it's not going into the foot. Still trying to maintain kind of that sleek shape of the foot. And that feels better. I mean, it's maybe not perfect, but it's good. We'll keep it. We'll call that good. Yeah, base mesh definitely simple with good topo. Also good forms. Can we create a customizable base mesh using too many layers? Yeah. The base mesh is really supposed to be, yeah. I mean, like right now, I mean, she's really pretty simple. We in order to make her, absolute base mesh though, she doesn't technically need the shoes, the panties, or the bra, and she'd be, or the hair technically, earrings, and by getting rid of those things, she's already just ready to go. As a base mesh, I could go through and use her for any other character that I wanted to be able to build her into. You know what? Speaking of building other characters, I'm going to take these eyes. It has nothing to do with building other characters. I'm just going to go ahead and... Oh, that was two. -1. That way it fits inside of the the other the eyeglass. I'll let's go through to rename these. Eyes, and I'll rename this eyeglass. So we turn this on. This fits around the outside of the mesh, and you can see there's a tiny little bit of shrink. Oh, when we turn it off. So yeah. I feel tired. Hey, Katri, how you doing? I did. I started with the Sailor Moon mesh, and then I went through and refined it a little bit. Like I added some. One of the things I wanted to do to be able to change my Sailor Moon mesh is I wanted to add this this edge flow over the nostril to kind of make sure that this part of the anatomy has a little bit more of a support. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I did to her. I think that was it. Yeah, I think that was it. I forgot I'd filled up on my water last night. Hey, miss. How you doing? Not good? It's okay. You'll be all right. Thank you, Pedro. Or thank you, Katri. I guess Pedro. I don't know what you're what you're making faces at. So yes, I did all the topology. The topology is all mine. I did it. I started it all inside of ZBrush, and I think I finished it all in Maya. Um, yeah, it's pretty. I'm sorry. I'm like sitting still like way too much. I want. Let me see. So let's turn on the chair. I've been going through and kind of thinking about her pose. Let's make a magazine. The magazine is something that's part of the what's it called, the concepts, the idea. This is in collaboration. This is in collaboration with Caitlin Wing, and it's a fun little photograph. My goodness, English is not working for me today. English is broken. Yeah, so the body's designed like that. This is kind of just part of her design. So it'll be something that I'll have to wait and see how it works, how it looks when she's seated. Yeah, because the context of the pose will be important to figuring out whether or not it feels right. But yeah, thanks, B Chad. How you doing, brother? Yeah, let's see what we can get. No, I did not use any booleans at all, actually. So the eyes, in fact, you can rewind to be able to look at how we did that. Let's go ahead and local symmetry that. Didn't want these edges to be like right on top of each other like that. It was too much. But essentially what I did is I took, oh shoot, samples, spotlight projection. I took this mesh. Let's open this up. I took this mesh with polygroups and I used my transpose line and I inverted this this dome right here so that then it was, push this thing in. Then I grabbed the pupil with the mask and used the gizmo to just kind of like, I'll say extrude, to extend it, to extrude it, to push it in. It's really, really handy. And like, here's a nice trick for like hard surface stuff. Pay attention to where our edges are. This edge right here, the border between the yellow and the blue. If I hold control, click and drag, it's going to create a new edge loop. And so it's really handy way, even in here, I guess it went through and made one in here as well. But you can see like this becomes super helpful for hard surface modeling. I love that stuff. It's so nice. Okay, I have got to build a magazine. Let's start it off. Let's see. Hand pink waving. I can't see your hand pink waving at all, but I appreciate the hand pink waving. Do I ever make it a different shape other than a sphere? I mean, like a cube, like a prism, like a rhombus. Yeah, sometimes I'll go through and I'll kind of make the cornea kind of bulge out. I haven't been doing that lately though. I feel like it's easier to deal with if it's just a sphere. And, you know, sphere is all we ever use for production, so it's, you know, so it's nice. Let me see, magazine, that's where we're at. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Turn off local symmetry. And I want to think about kind of like how big a magazine is in relation to a person. I was hoping I had one like within reach. I've got one behind me, I know, but got a copy of 3D World magazine so I can like see what this looks like in in relationship to myself. The sphere that it used as a default one, like the one we append. Yeah, yeah. So it's pretty basic, pretty simple. Um, oh, I gotta put that into my expense report. Where that came from. Okay. Yeah, A4 size. I don't know that I'll be that particular with it. Let's see. That feels pretty good. I mean, like shoulder width, you can see that it definitely doesn't go as wide as the shoulders. So, I mean, technically, I think I'm going. Yeah, let's shrink it down a little bit. Let's see if we can make it so that the face kind of fills up. I think something like that could work. Something like that could work. I'm going to say. Oops. Let's get rid of. Let's just get rid of all these different edge loops that we don't need at first anyway, right? And then I'm just gonna. Oh, but we had symmetry turned on. Let's turn off symmetry, please. Because I only want to get rid of certain polygons. Okay, let's go ahead and say display properties, hit double. You can see now it's like this is what we've got. Okay, it looks kind of magazine-like-ish. Right? It's starting to go somewhere. So now what we've got to do is we just got to start beveling things and making sure that this feels like it's got the right structure to it. I think what I'm going to do is have it with like a nice squared off binding, like this edition of 3D World magazine. And I'm not going to make it Vanity Fair, just to be able to avoid any kind of, I don't know. I'll have to call it something else. Any tips on how big the iris and pupils should be? That's something that I recommend definitely playing with. There are a couple of things that eyes need in order for them to really feel like they're working, right? Sorry. I feel like the more you can do to, let's go ahead and say dynamic. We'll turn off the smoothing. We'll turn up thickness just a little bit, so we got like a little thickness to the cover. The more we can do, Let's kind of lower it so we can see her face, her lovely face. The more we can do to kind of play around with eyes, the better. So we want to ask ourselves questions about, like, okay, so are they too far apart? Are they too low on the face? Are they too high on the face? We want to ask if they're too small. Sometimes if they're too small, it'll make the head feel like really large. SMA's world. That's fun. Um, Iris and pupil size, like getting these to feel right, that will be a little bit of playing. But one thing that definitely happens, that let's go into eyes. And you can see, like, if we look at these, they're not facing directly forward. Here, let's go ahead and get into the top. You can see, like, they're angled outward by like 5 degrees or something like that. It's something small. It's not a huge amount, but it's definitely something small. And what this does is this helps it to feel like, it's a little bit. Here, let me see. Modify topology. Well, nope. Other direction. Deformation, mirror, and weld. So that way we get the clean eyeball on each side here. Cool. Oh, hey, look at that. Sometimes turning your model upside down can be really nice because it helps you to break your perception of like how you feel like your model is looking. So, like, looking at it like this, I can tell on different shapes if shapes are off or on, or how it's going about. Like, maybe the nose needs some tweaking, but I don't know. We'll see. I think it's really kind of a neat trick, turning your model upside down. Same thing as like flipping your canvas in Photoshop, sort of thing. It's just kind of fun. It's just kind of fun. Let's see. How's that for the thickness? It's feeling a little bit too thick, so let's kind of narrow it just a bit. In fact, the magazine still feels a little bit large to me. Let's go ahead and center that so that it's scaling toward the center. But yeah, I think something that I thought about doing is I'll be painting something for the cover, just like using Procreate. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. In fact, that'll be like the probably the last thing that I end up doing for this particular project, is painting the texture for this. Especially because there's a lot of design work that'll have to go into it. Designing how the layout will work, the title, the text, the fonts, everything like that. There's a lot of thought that needs to go into that, and since I'm not a graphic designer, yeah, I can make it taller a little bit. That's a good call. I like that. I like that. Okay. So now that we've got this, I'm going to do kind of a cheat. This is a 3D cheat. 2D cheats have all sorts of their own cheats, right? But I'm going to do a 3D cheat. So let's say Control Shift D. And I'm going to say Pages. And what this is going to be, this needs to be solid. So I guess I'll just go ahead and bridge this back. Okay. So now if we look at this, this is all going to be the same, right? let me see. Let's go ahead and center it. Make sure this is facing the right direction. Okay. Now, a lot of what's going to make this like really read as a magazine is the fact that it's going to have like, you know, the cover needs to have a little bit more body to it. So let's go ahead and let's add in some controlled subdivisions. In fact, here's what we want to do. Let's say geometry. And say extrude single poly just to be able to get this so that it's off of the rest of the magazine as well. And then let's say okay, let's start adding in loops. Let's say multiple edge loops. We'll say keep poly group. Do something kind of like that. And then we only have to like tap on the back side to, if we can get to it. Good grief. It doesn't want to let me, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Yeah, let's turn off double, see if that helps me at all to, no. Good grief, why isn't it letting me? Dang. It does not. Okay, here we go. I'm going to say let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Come on, you're all by yourself. Oh my goodness. Okay, so since this is creating issues for me, I'm going to say let's go ahead and bridge these two together. Because if I have them bridged together and I say insert multiple edge loops, it's going to allow me to kind of get all the way over to the other side, right? That was too many. Something like that's better. Okay. That's better. That's what I wanted. Okay, and let's go ahead and get some going up and down as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get rid of those red polygroups here. Say geometry, delete hidden. Okay, one thing that I want to make sure of is that I want to make sure that I've got, you know, a loop in here for the binding, right? So this is going to be where the magazine kind of That's why I love Maya for these types of blockouts. Well, it's like I love ZBrush for these types of blockouts too, but it's like for some reason it just whatever. I could have used symmetry, and I could have used Stager to be able to create that symmetry really easily. But yeah, I don't know. It's it's fun. All right. Let's see. I am going to. Oh, did I already hit delete? Yeah, I did. Okay. Let's say Control Shift S. Let's invert this. I'm going to make sure that that's its own polygroup here. And then I want. In fact, here's what we'll do. Let's do this. I'm going to say auto groups. Oh, not that color. That'll work, I guess. And let's go ahead and select this polygroup here. Okay, and now I just kind of want to start giving it some body. So I'm going to let's use a cloth brush. Let's use cloth pole. Make it nice and big. You just kind of mess it up just a little bit. Okay, it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just enough to be able to give it a little bit of that fold, just the way that like the page, like the cover will kind of like come out as if it's been read a lot. This one hasn't been read a lot, so it doesn't have that sort of bend to it. But we can do something like that. Then we can come over to the back side. We have cookies. Oh, that's like pulled on it too much. So there's the magazine so far. And you can definitely tell it's got a little bit too much pull. So we'll just kind of tug on it a little bit. Oh, let's turn off the chair. We don't need the chair on right now. I'm just going to try to like tug this into place so that it's not so... Oh, got a little bit too much up here at the top. Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's not losing its shape too much. Yeah, I want the cover to feel like it's part of the same magazine. Okay, so now we've got that. Now one of the cool things is that we can use the cover, since we went ahead and we already did all that. We went through all that trouble. In fact, let's go ahead and we'll say geometry, crease. I'm just going to go ahead and say crease like that, and then I'm going to say crease PG so that we get the crease along the edges here. And we also get the creases in the separation as well. Just going to pull that up so that it matches the magazine pages a little bit better. Same down here. All right. Okay, that's looking kind of cool. Now I want to use the cover to be able to create pages for the center. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say Control Shift D, and we're going to select page and page. We're going to invert geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab this. With our cloth pole brush, I'm going to take this and I'm going to say brush auto masking. I'm going to say topological down at the bottom. I was like, I know I'm trying to do something very intentional and I can't think of what it is. So yeah, just going to take this. I'm just going to push it in some. I'm going to grab the other one, push it in some. And then Control Shift D. And then I'm going to take the back page and I'm just going to push it in some. And I think I'm going to call that good, you know. Maybe take this, give it a little bit of variation so that it's not, you know, perfectly lined up, so that it feels a little bit more organic. And kind of feels like a magazine. These pages, though, they're a little bit too thick. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up and merge them down. And instead of having the dynamic be so thick, I'm going to make this maybe like half as thick. 0.0003. Ah, nerds. That looks much more like pages now. So now we've got like this center chunk down in here that's kind of helping to fill out that area. I want to go ahead and kind of, well, I want to make sure that this has some chunk to it as well. Actually, let's go into the cloth pole just to kind of make sure that this fills in our gaps nicely. Bless you. Just got to make sure that this is not going to interfere on this side. Just kind of bless you. It's definitely not filling in that gap though, so maybe it's a matter of just kind of very carefully nudging it. Smooth it out some or something. These pages, these corners, I want to make sure that these corners are inside. Like, I don't want them to be poking out. That just breaks the illusion. Something like that's going to help so that it just creates this feeling of breakup and creates variation in the surface. And that's what we're looking for with this, right? Okay. Get some variation in here with the page. And we'll call that good. And then through the miracles of texturing, we'll make that look real. Now, what's cool, let's see, we have this going on. I want to take the magazine cover. I want to give it a little bit of a pull on this bit here. Just to kind of give it a little bit more variety. It feels a lot more like paper now. Oh, not move. Oh, it is cloth pole. Okay. So yeah, just trying to give it some variety so that it's not so, I'll say stale. So it's not stale. And it helps it to feel more natural. So now we've got our magazine. C'est joli. So are you saying that you think it'd be fun to put my face on the magazine? I don't think I'll do that. I kind of want to keep with the basic idea of what's happening with this Vanity Fair issue right here. Just to kind of keep in line with the, I guess with the original artistic intent. She's not going to be holding it in front of her face. She's going to be kind of more of a playful pose. She's going to be sitting on the chair. but it's going to be more of like a playful pose rather than I guess in this way, you know. Let's see. I'm gonna say cancel. I need to save. I haven't saved, I don't think, this whole time. So we'll save. Okay. Cool. So now we've got a magazine. I want... It's like I'm trying to decide what to do next. I mean, it's almost 10 o'clock, so I mean, it's not a huge deal if we were to call it right now. Like, right now. Let's pull this magazine up so that it's out of the way. But yeah, that's production ready asset right there. Well, not really. I mean, it still needs UVs. It still needs to commit the thickness. It's still, you know, different things like that. But, you know, whatever. It's close. It's close. Yeah, we're getting super close. I did make the robe. I don't like the robe, so I'm trying to decide what to do about that. Well, I mean, I guess like the robe's not completely finished. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I do need to work on like the ends of the sleeves so that they have like some sort of little, I'll say cuff, some sort of cuff to make sure that that feels like a uniform shape, ties it in nicely, which means that I'm going to get some kind of compression folds going around the edge of that. Yeah, there's a decent amount of work that needs to kind of go into that, finish it out. But yeah, I'm still trying to decide. I don't know. I guess I'll have to see. I'll have to see what I do with that robe because I don't particularly care for it. We'll see. I'm also trying to decide on whether I want to have these panties or if I want to do something that's a little bit, you know, higher waist. Insert single edge loop, so like going in. Control click and drag so we get this all the way up here. I don't know why that got all odd like that. Let's kind of smooth this out so that we have the edges kind of spread out just nice and easy. Yeah, so I don't know if I want to do something like this where it's like that high-waisted, you know, sort of deal going on, or if I want to have it so that it's more the low waist. I like the idea of each, and you know, I'll have to, you know, whichever one I decide to go with, I'll have to kind of finish out and add like the band around the top, things like that. But yeah, not entirely sure what I want out of that yet. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think one of the ways to make it like the concept is to use ZBrush hair system to make it look fuzzy. Yeah, I definitely don't want to use. Yeah, I definitely don't want to do that. I might at some point. Are you talking about the robe? Because I mean, the robe looks like it's supposed to be some sort of sheer material, like not fuzzy, but like a, and not like a satin either, but like a sheer material, something you can kind of see through. Um, yeah. The idea is that like for my final image, I'll be going through and doing XGen for the hair to make sure that I get like some nice natural looking hair, hair, eyebrows, eyelashes probably as well. Um, Eyelashes is going to be kind of fun, challenging. But I'm going to have to do like a whole surfacing pass for like the makeup to make it so that the makeup has like the metallic powderiness for the eyeshadow, and I'm gonna have to definitely downplay some of that eyeshadow because it's super super heavy. Um, Gosh, but yeah, I mean, I'm liking where she's at. This is turning out fun so far. I actually kind of like that high waisted panty right there. I think that's working pretty nicely. I believe it's called Tulle or Tulle Material. Yeah, it's I forget what it's not Tulle. It sounds like that though. I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head right now. Like Tulle or something like that. Like, let's see. Oh, I think that's it right there. Yeah. Something more like this. I mean, it's probably not going to be this material, but it's kind of like that sort of material where it's got the like the see-through sort of, thin mesh, French silk, something kind of like this. Um You can see kind of the way that it's transparent and it's got this really kind of elegant look to it. That's something that I'm going to have to develop inside of like Substance Designer or something like that. Because yeah, there's not really a good way to pull that off inside of ZBrush. Even with 2023, if you have 2023 and you use the what's it called? The Redshift materials. The Redshift materials have those opacity options, but you don't have the option of being able to use alphas with that. So it's tricky. Yeah, there's a lot that I'm gonna have to try to figure out to be able to make stuff work for fabric, especially this type of fabric. And apparently this is a really top product. Look at that, 1,500 reviews, 5 stars, 100%. Fabric is incredible. Wow, that's insane. All right. I can't imagine paying that much for a yard of fabric. Oh well. Fully committing to the details. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna call this good for today. I'm gonna go eat breakfast. Breakfast sounds good. So this is where I'll leave off. Next week what I want to be able to do, and maybe sometimes during this week I'll go through. I want to actually model sunglasses for her, so that next week when we start to stream, yeah, let's go ahead and save while we're talking, so that we're not like, so we're not doing nothing. I want to possibly go ahead and start to pose her, like put her into her pose. Now, it's going to be based off of this pose, but this hand will be kind of holding the magazine down kind of over here, and then this hand will be kind of like, like she'll be holding like a pair of sunglasses or something like that, where like the support rim that goes over the ear, it's going to be like kind of hanging on her lip or whatever, to kind of get like a flirty sort of look out of her. Should be really fun. So yeah, that's kind of what we've got. That's what we've got for today. We're gonna call it good. Thanks for coming and hanging out. It's always nice to have good people around when we're streaming, and to have good conversations. Hope you guys had fun. Hopefully it was instructional or useful or just fun. Even just fun. Entertainment value is always fun too. And gosh, let's go ahead and get a close up on the face too, so that we're get nice and pretty. Have a good week. Have a good week, guys. Like, all the fun. Do all the fun things. Work hard. Play hard. Tell your loved ones you love them. All the good stuff. Gosh. I'll see you next time I see you. Okay? Smartest out.